A new jury must unanimously decide if Arias should get life in prison or death sentence. Arias was convicted last year of first-degree murder and the death of her ex-boyfriend, Travis Alexander. The jury deadlocked when it came to deciding her punishment. A unanimous vote is required in order to execute Arias by lethal injection. If the jury deadlocks, Arias will be eligible for life in prison without the possibility of parole, or life in prison with a chance of release in 25 years. Arias stabbed Alexander 29 times, shot him in the face, and split his neck from ear to ear back in 2008.
All right, let's bring in criminal defense attorney Rebecca LeGrand. Rebecca, what do you think? Is this a good enough reason? Locks of love, charity, teaching English. Is this a good enough reason for Jodi Arias to not have the death penalty?
It's up to a whole new jury now to decide, is the sort of crazy thing here. The first jury decided she was guilty of first-degree murder, decided she was guilty of murder in a particularly cruel, exceptionally cruel fashion, but hung on death. So the first jury, after deciding all that, still wasn't sure about death, and now a whole new jury is going to decide.
Now, why would you think they would even come to that deadlock in the first place?
Well, I think it's things like what you just saw. What you're doing as a defense attorney at the mitigation phase, at the sentencing phase, is you're accepting that someone did something very wrong, but you're trying to explain that there's more to their life than that. And you saw that that's what Jodi was doing there in the allocution when she was speaking to the first jury. She's saying, look, I've done good things with my life. I still have hope. Please don't kill me. And all she has to do is convince one juror that she should serve life in prison, not death, and then she will not get the death penalty. So there's a lot to think about for the jurors here.
What about the fact, Rebecca, that she's a woman, right? We actually have some stats from deathpenaltyinfo.org, and as of July 1st, over 3,000 people are on death row in the United States. 59 of those are women. Only 59 of those are women.
Yep.
And out of all the confirmed executions in the country since the year 1608, only about 3% of those were female. So what do you think about the fact that Jodi is a woman? Is she less likely to get the death penalty just because she's a female? And
do we go easier on women in those situations?
I think it's hard to say. I mean, women commit less murders, too, so that's part of the reason for the difference in the numbers. But, yeah, I think she's a sympathetic with a lot of caveats here, but when you see her doing just that allocution there, just talking to the jury, a nice woman in glasses about how she's donating her hair, yeah, I think you can get some sympathy as a woman that you might not get as a man if you were sort of a scarier-looking figure. But it's going to be interesting here, because this time the jury's going to focus only on that issue, only on mitigation. Is there enough good about her life for whatever horrible things she did that she should get to serve life and not be put to death? So they're going to be focusing just on that issue, and I think it's going to be real hard for the state here, I think, to get a death verdict. And
now, because this is the second time around, obviously, if the jury decides or the jury comes to a deadlock, now what happens with the judge?
Then that's the last try for the prosecution. This is their second bite at the apple. They sort of frankly get a free chance here to try and get the death penalty when they couldn't in the first trial. If they don't get it here, that's it. Under Arizona law, that means that it's up to the judge then to decide whether Jodi gets life in prison or life in prison with a possibility of parole after 25 years. Those will be the only two options if they'd hang here again. All right,
Rebecca, we actually have some viewer comments. We asked you guys to put your opening statements on Facebook and Twitter, and this one from Tori already has 44 likes so far. And then also Rob says, life. If Travis was so scared of Jodi, why did he keep coming back to her? Didn't deserve to die, but we also have to look at both sides here. Wow, that's interesting. We actually don't get a lot of those. All right, and Yvette says, don't let your heart rule your head. Remember, this was premeditated murder. She deserves the death penalty. So, Rebecca, I want to toss this to you. We don't have a lot of time left, but how would you defend, real quick, how would you defend Jodi Arias in this situation?
Yep, talk about her as a person outside the crime and potentially focus on some of the mental health things that even the state agreed with at the first trial. If she's got mental health issues, even if they're not serious enough to be guilt or innocence issues, they can go to what she deserves for punishment here.
All right, Rebecca, thank you so much for weighing in. We're going to be following the Jodi Arias trial throughout the day.